In this video, we are going to create a blood donation desktop application in C Sharp using Windows Form application in Visual Studio. This is the prototype of our application. This is the home page, and these are some of the features that we will be making in that application. Firstly, we will open Visual Studio. I am using 2022 version of Visual Studio. Then we will create a new project, and it will be a Windows Form application. So as you can see, I have selected Windows Form app, and now I'm going to name it. I have named it Bloodborne. This is the name of our application. So our work setup has been formed. Now the next thing that we will be doing is prototyping. As I have shown you earlier, this is the prototype that we want to create. In Visual Studio Windows Form application, we have a toolbox that we can use to create such prototypes. This toolbox has multiple tools like buttons, checkboxes, dialog boxes, combo boxes, radio buttons, etc., which are going to help us to create our prototype. It will be a functional prototype, and we can simply drag and drop these items onto this form page. I'm going to open both of these side by side so that we may tally our work. The feature which I want to implement right now is this one. Basically, we are going to create a sign up page for the acceptor. For that, we will be needing these details. I am going to add text boxes for taking input from the user. Here you can see I'm just gonna drag and drop this text box, and it is going to be created out here. Now I have to add a label corresponding to this text box so that we can tell user that what piece of information we are wanting from him that he or she has to write in this text box. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this label and go into the Solution Explorer, and here you can see I have the text of this label written as label 1. I can change it to patient name, and after changing this over here, it has been changed on this form application. Now this text box also has a name. I'm going to select this text box, and I'm going to this property section of the Solution Explorer, and here I can see this text box has name text box 1. For our convenience, I'm going to set this name to patient name so that we can use it in our code. In lowercase letter, I have written down its name. Now I have to do this for the rest of the text boxes. For phone number, for city, for hospital, I have to add multiple text boxes. So as you can see, I have added 3 four multiple fields on this form application, and with correspondence to each label, I have labeled the text, I have named a text box as well. For example, this text box it is corresponding with the label phone number, so I have named this text box phone number. Same is the case, I have labeled this text box as city and this text box as hospital name. It is going to help us in our coding section. The next thing that we want to implement is this part, the province. It takes a combo box with it. I will show you what a combo box actually is. A combo box basically is a drop down menu that I'm going to create over here. It has limited uh, labels that are mentioned in this combo box. User cannot enter freely into this. User has to select from the drop down options that are available for the user in this combo box. Now I'm gonna add the label and change the name of this combo box to province. Now further we have to create another combo box for blood. So further I have to add a button, and it is going to be an upload button that will help user to upload his or her medical documents. I'm going to label this upload document. And I'm going to set the label of this button. Firstly, I'm going to change its name to upload so that it might help us in the coding part, and then I'm going to change its text upload as well. So as you can see, it has been updated. And lastly, I have to add the date part, which is going to indicate that at which date the patient needs the blood, if it's a scheduled appointment. For that, I'm going to add the name appointment date. Okay. And I can select month calendar from here, and I have added this month calendar. I'm going to increase the size of this application. You can also increase its size a little more. I select this. So okay, I'm going to change the name of the calendar to appointment. Further, we can change the name of the form by selecting the form, going to the properties, and here you can see is text. I'm going to change it to blood font. So as you can see, it has changed its name over here. I'm going to name this form can name it acceptor details. It will be called acceptor details because it is basically a sign up. We cannot use spaces. Acceptor details, of course, because it will be used as a variable in the coding part. So now that we have created the prototype, I can show you how it is going to look. Just run this code, and this will be the final output after we have created this application. We have not implemented any code so far, so whatever I'm going to just enter over here is just going to accept. It is not going to be stored anywhere. I have to put some restrictions on these text boxes as well. This is the combo box. I can click on this button as well, and I can select the date from here. Now that we have created our prototype, the next thing that we will be doing is creating a database in which the information of these fields are going to be stored, and we will extract the data from that database to form some useful insights and implement the further features of this application. For creating our database, I will be using Microsoft Server SQL Studio. We are going to open Microsoft SQL Server. After that it has opened, you have to connect the server. And after that it has connected, I'm going to write the new query. Firstly, you have to create a database. I have to write create database. The name of the database is going to be the name of our application, that one. After writing this SQL query, I'm going to select it and press execute. As you can see over here, the command has completed successfully. Our database has been created. I can show you over here. This is our database, that one. The next query I'm going to write is use database, or I can just write the name of our database. I'm going to select this and execute. Command completed successfully. Now this database is being used. Now I'm going to write create table, and the table name is going to be acceptor details. Acceptor details. Now I have to mention the name of the columns. We have to open our prototype over here so that we might get an idea of which fields we have to implement. I'm going to set it over here. So now the first field is going to be of patient name. Okay. This is going to be of varchar data type, and it will be of 20 length. Further, I'm going to add phone number. It's going to be of data type integer. Then you have to write city. It is going to be of data type varchar. can be 10 characters long. Hospital name, Vacha, 10 characters long. Province, Vacha, blood group, Vacha. I am going to give it character 3 because we have to store the sign of the blood group, either it's positive or negative, and it can be any single character blood group A, B, O, or it can be A, B as well. So that's why I have reserved 3 character space for it. And appointment date, it's going to be able to type date. I am also going to create an attribute of patient ID. This will be the identification number of data type integer. It is going to be our primary key. It will be unique and it will identify each patient by a unique number, because it is going to differentiate the patients from each other in the database, because patient can have same names, same phone numbers, can belong to same cities, and all of these attributes are not going to be unique, but patient ID will be unique and it is going to be our primary key. I want this primary key to be automatically generated, so I am going to use identity function over here, which will assign primary keys, patient IDs automatically to the patients starting from 1000, and it is going to increment 1 in each primary key. So if I now run this code, I have to select all of these lines and click on execute. So the command completed successfully. Now I am going to write insert into acceptor details. I'm going to write the names of these attributes: patient ID, patient name. Now as you can see, I have written down the name of all the attributes. Now I'm going to use values keyword and insert the values. I'm going to remove patient ID from this because it is going to be automatically generated due to the identity function. So as you can see, I have written down the values for these attributes over here. These are the values. This is the attribute. After selecting this entire line and executing the query, you can see the message over here, one row affected. This means that in the table acceptor details, we have added all of these values. Now I'm going to write select static from acceptor details, and now I'm going to execute this query. So here you can see our table has been created and I have inserted all of these values. This will be the database in which the data will be stored from our form application. Now that we have created our database, we have to connect this database with our C Sharp Windows form application. I will open our form application, and by double clicking on this form design, I can go to the backend C Sharp coding file. Over here, we have to include some namespaces. So you have to include all of these namespaces in order to move on. Okay, so in the namespace represents the actual application name, and this is the class of this application page over here. Its name is Bloodbound. We had named it accepted details. What I have to do is I have to create the variables with respect to these fields that we have included earlier. You will have to create a string for patient name. I'm going to write it in small case. Why is it giving an error? Because there was a conflicting declaration. We had already named a text box patient name, so that's why I had capitalized this first. Then we have to include phone number, city, hospital name, etc. So now, as you can see, I have included all of the fields. I have created each variable for each attribute of the table in our database. Now what I have to do is I have to create another string named source. What I am going to store in this source, basically I am going to store the path in this string, the path of database. Now what is that path? For that I will open Microsoft SQL Server. I'm going to click on connect, the button next to connect, and now I have to copy the server name. Then I will move to our form application, and here I'm going to write at, then I'm going to give it a string, then I will have to write data source, and in that data source I will have to give this. That is the name of my server. Then I have to mention initial catalog. Now in this initial catalog I will have to mention the name of the table that we have created. The name of the table was accepted details. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it over here. Then another field is integrated security. We are going to set it true. This is the path that we need to connect our database. I have named it source. Now what we need to do is we need to create an object of SQL connection. I'm going to name it con. Now it is given an error, and I will show you how to resolve this error. Firstly, I'm going to stop the execution that was going on earlier, and now I have to run this application to see whether there are some build errors. The error is about this SQL connection. Now to fix this error, I'm going to click on this in Solution Explorer, and I'm going to go to Manage Nugget Packages. Here I'm going to search for SQL connection. So it is not installed. I have to copy it, go to browse. Now I'm going to browse it. I'm going to browse for SQL connection. System.data.sql client, you can see over here. I'm going to install it. Okay, I accept. And right now you can see it has installed, and our warning and error has disappeared. There are 0 errors and 0 warnings. So this means if you go to this, so you can see it, the object of SQL connection has been successfully created. So further we have to create SQL command, and we have to create an object for SQL adapter. Data, not data reader, I have to create for data adapter. ADPT. So these 3 objects I have created over here. Now in the constructor, I have to initialize all of these fields. For that, I'll be copying them. Control C, and after copying them, I'm going to just paste it above. I'm going to remove the data types because they have already been assigned data types. And in this constructor, I'm going to set them to equal to null. These are all of data type string. I'm going to ignore this one because it was of data type integer. But you can also write it like equal to 0. This will be appropriate. And I'm going to set it. So now I have initialized all of the fields. Now I'm going to move on the design again, and over here I'm going to add a button. It is going to be a save button, that after the user has completed all of these details, the user has to save. I am going to name this button as save details, or save details, save ACC details, accepted details, and I'm going to change its text to save. I have created a save button as you can see over here. So now I'm going to double click on that button, and after I have double clicked, as you can see, I have moved on to this function button one dot click. This save button has the name save ACC details, but in the function it will mention it button 1. So this button basically donates us that when this save button is clicked, what is going to happen? I am going to write it in the body of this function. What I want to do is I want to copy all of these names, and I'm going to paste it over here. And what I want to do is now what I have done over here is that I have mentioned the name of the text box, patient name, this text box over here. You can see in the properties that this text box is called patient name. So I have used the patient name text box, and I have assigned the text of that text box to this string variable that we have created over here. Okay. Now what is going to happen over here is when the user is going to enter the text in this text box is called patient name, and its text is going to be stored in this string variable, this string variable that we have created over here. Okay. Now same we will do with city. We will go to the design, we will go to the city, see its name. The name of the text box is city. So what I want to do is I have to city dot text c. Okay, so it's going to assign city dot text to the string city. Now when will this happen? When our button 1 will be clicked. After the user has entered these values and he or she has clicked on the save button, then all of the values of these text boxes, I want to assign them to these string variables. Now I'm going to do the same for all of them. For hospital name dot text. For province, we had used a combo box. Now for combo box, I'm going to do is province.txt. For it will also be same is the case with blood group. We have to see that why these names are being it has blood group starting from small b OUP dot TEXT. So number, yes, it was phone number, and for date it was in date. And what was it? It was called appointment. So I'm going to name appointment dot txt. And phone number, its data type. When the user is going to enter, in the user is going to enter the phone number, but it will be of data type string, so we have to typecast it. We have to typecast the input into integer so that it can be stored in variable number, which is of data type integer. And all of this will be happen when we will click on the button save. There is a little change in the syntax of typecasting in C sharp. So phone number.txt, as I mentioned earlier, will be in the form of string, and it is going to be passed into this integer data type, and then it is going to be stored in number. So you can typecast this string using this syntax. Now we are going to discuss about the combo boxes. For example, you can see over here, with correspondence to the blood group label, there is a combo box. It is a drop down menu box. We can see its name from over here. Its name is blood group. So the name of the combo box is blood group. If I click on the form and go to the properties, I can see the name of the form is accepted details. Now to add the fields in this combo box, you have to go to your coding file, and you have to access the function accepted details.load. Accepted detail was the name of our form, as I have shown you earlier. You can see over here, accepted detail is the name of our form, and this is the load function. So you have to go in the load function, and over there you have to write the name of the combo box. The name of the combo box was blood group. Then you have to write items, add, and you have to pass a string. The blood groups that I am going to enter will be A positive, A negative, B positive. So as you can see, I have added all of the blood groups in the load option. Now I'm going to open our form, and when I'm going to click on the combo box, you can see all of the blood groups are being displayed over here. And when I select this and click save button, these details will be saved in the blood group string. Now we have to insert the values from our form into this database that we had created earlier. This is the table in which the values will be inserted, and these were the SQL queries that were used to create this database, blood bond, and the accepted details table. I will move on to our C# code file. Over here, in our constructor, where we had initialized our variables, we will have to use the object that we had created earlier, on this object of SQL connection, and I have to write new SQL connection. We had created a path called source. It had the data source, and the initial catalog included the table in which we have to include the values. So I will have to write, I have to pass this source path as an argument in this object, and then we will move to our button, our save button. This is the function of the save button. Let me show you this save button. When the user is going to click on this button, we will be on this function. Now what we have to do is we will write try and catch this will help us to detect any exceptions that are thrown. If there's an exception, I will use message box dot show the error message, and in this try I will use cmd is equal to SQL command also have to use a new operator. Now what is CMD? Basically you can see over here that CMD is the object of SQL command, and I have used this object like this. In this SQL command constructor we can write SQL queries into this command. The SQL command that we will be writing over here, I can just copy this SQL command from here. As you can see, this command was used to add values into the table with the corresponding column. In the patient name, the name Ahmad was added, phone number 123456 was added, in city, the city name was added, and same as the case with hospital name, province, and blood group. This is the final output. So I will just have to copy this SQL command and I am going to paste over here as a string. Another thing that we want to do is we have to use the connection object and open our connection. And after that we had done with the inserting, we also have to close it. You can also display a message your values have been inserted. After this, I also have to call cmd execute non-query function so that our query can be executed. And there is one very important thing, that you have to use con connection along with the SQL query. Elsewise, it is not going to insert the values into the table. You can see the attributes over here, and these were the random values, but we have to take the values from these text boxes of this forum, and then we have to insert it over here. So for that, what we'll be doing is, firstly, I'm going to erase the name with correspondence to the attribute patient name, and I'm going to add double quotations that are used for string, and after doing this I'm going to use two plus sign operators, and in this I'm going to write the name of this text box. The name of this text box was patient name was its name. We have to copy this and we have to add it over here. So as you can see, I have added the name of the textbooks. Again, in these single quotes, these are for SQL. I'm going to write double quotations. This represents string and use two plus signs. And in this, I'm going to write the name of the next text box, that is the phone number. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to add this phone number over here. Now I will do the same for city plus plus. I think its name was city. Then plus plus hospital name. One thing more, that we have to use dot text with it so that it will return the text in string format. Province. I'm going to use double quotations. Plus plus province dot text. For blood group, we will be doing plus plus blood group dot text. I have to see that what was the name of the combo box. It was in small case letters, that is why it is given a letter. So I will write this blood group dot text. Then what we have to do over here is double quotes plus plus date dot. So it wasn't date, it was appointment date. It was appointment. So I'm going to write appointment dot text. This command Control C, and I'm going to paste it over here for you guys, because it is very crucial for this command to be 100% accurate. If I could just break it down into two lines so that you guys can clearly see the syntax. If there is even a slightest mistake in this syntax, your data is not going to be stored. So you can see the SQL command over here. Another crucial thing is the path over here. I'm just going to copy and paste it as well so that you guys can clearly see it. You do not have to make mistakes in both of these statements, otherwise you can get exceptions in your program and it might not store your values. Now what I want to do is I want to run our form application, and now I'm going to enter the details. For example, I'm going to enter James. I'm going to enter his phone number, and I'm going to enter the city. I'm going to enter the hospital name. I'm going to enter the province and the blood group. I'm going to click on save. Why it is showing an error? I'm going to enter the name. I'm going to enter the phone number, the city, the hospital name, the province, the blood group, the date, and Click on save. I'm going to enter the details. I'm going to enter the phone number. I'm going to enter the city, the hospital name, the province, the blood group. Click on save. So your values have been inserted, and now I'm going to open the SQL server, and I'm going to run select static from statement. I'm going to select it and execute it. So here you can see our data has been appended in the table accepted details. James was the name of our patient. His phone number was 1234, and the respective city, hospital name, province, blood group, and appointment date has been added that we had selected in our form application. So now I will show you how to add the constraints to the text boxes that we had created earlier. We need to know all of the names of those text boxes. Firstly, we will create a clear function. In this way, all of the text boxes will be emptied automatically. It's a combo box. Then we have province, hospital name, and we have done this as well. What about phone number? And so we have created the function of clear. After that, we have inserted the values using the SQL command function by passing the SQL query into it. We are going to call the function of clear after the message box has displayed that your values have been inserted. What it is going to do is, if I run this program, you can see after entering the names and filling up all the fields, and by clicking save, the message has displayed that your values have been inserted and all of these values have been cleared away. Okay. We can also set the combo box equal to null by using statement like this. Province is the name of the combo box. Dot selected item can be null. Same is the case that blood group is the name of the combo box. Selected blood group, its B is in small letters. Now if I run this, stopping it, let me enter the details again. Province, hospital, blood group, date, and I click on save. Your values have been inserted, and if I click OK, you can see all of these fields have been wiped out. So this was our clear function. Now we have to add some constraints on the text boxes and the combo boxes. For that, we will be using these strings and variable that we have created earlier. For that, we will have to go in the save button dot click function. This button basically is represents the save button. When that button is clicked, this function is called. So over here, I'm going to put some checks, but before that, I have to go over here to our design page. Here I would have to add a label, and I have to name this label check 1. I'm just going to name it check 2, and I have to eliminate its text. Then I will go in our coding section and I'm going to write if patient name is equal to an empty string. E-N-T-I, E-N. I have misspelled it. Okay. So, and this will happen check 2, which was our label, dot text will be equal to please fill this field first. We also have to create a boolean flag over here, which we will initialize with 0, and when if the flag is 0, and only then this try catch will be executed. Hopefully, okay, it has a nice flag. Our boolean flag was initialized 0, and if this flag was I have changed the data type of flag from bool to int. Okay, so this was the check that we had implemented. I will show you what will this check do. Let's say if the user has entered all of the details, all of them, but the user has not entered the patient name. And if you click save, so you can see over here, please fill in this field first label appears. One thing I would like to mention is that if this field first we have printed out this statement, we also have to make the flag equal to 1 so that the values are not inserted into the database. Elsewise, it's going to insert the values without the patient name. So to prevent this, we have to mark the flag as 1. Now I will do the same for the rest of the fields. City was also a text box. For combo box, the check will be a little bit different, but it will do this, it will carry on the same functionality. For hospital name, one thing I'd like to mention is that for each field there will be separate labels that are needed to be attached. I will just drag and drop those labels I am going to change their names and I am going to delete their text. Now I will do this for all the respective fields. I will go and change the name and I will delete the text. We will keep on doing this for all the combo boxes and all the check boxes. Just delete the text and rename the label. It is going to help us in our coding session. Check 6 and the text will be eliminated. And for the last one, I will add another label. This will be our check 7 with no text. We will move to our coding section. Over here, I'm going to change the text. I'm going to change the check names. We have done for the patient name, the city, the hospital name. Hopefully we are going in the right order. Patient name, phone number, then city. Okay, city comes. So the check 4 was of city and the check 3 was of hospital, if I'm correct. Of hospital it was uh, 2, 3, 4 and 5. For hospital it was check number 5. We will correct it if there's any mistake later onwards in this video. Now for the combo box province, we will have to add the keyword null. That if the province is null, we'll do the same thing. For province 2, 3, 4 and 5, then 6. So 6 was for the hospital name and 7th for the blood group. Hopefully there aren't any errors. Now I'm going to run this code and see what if I do not fulfill any field. I click save. So it has displayed the label for hospital, for city, for patient name. We haven't mentioned the check for the phone number. And we also have to mention there's some error with province and blood group. So for the province, we will have to mention the actual name of the combo box and dot selected item should be equal to null. If it is null, it is going to print this error message. Same is the case with blood group. We will have to write the actual name of the combo box dot selected item equal to null. One check was missing, that was of the phone number. Check for the phone number was check 3. Now if I run this and do not enter any values in the fields, so you can see it has printed these messages for all of these respective fields, and it has not saved the files unless we complete all of the text boxes. So as you can see, when I have entered all the values, it has inserted those values in our database. One thing more that I would like to mention is that in the clear function, in our clear function, we will also have to set the labels equal to an empty string. Label 3 label 4, label 5, 6, and 7 equal to 0. One mistake that I have done, we should write quality sign is the comparison operator. Now hopefully it should work. And sorry, these were strings. These were strings, so we will have to write an empty string. Okay. Hopefully it is going to set all of these to null. There are some build errors. I would like to see that error. One thing more that we have to do is we have to write text with all of these labels, because labels are generally objects representing those items in the text boxes, and text is a respective field or method that has been coded in those objects. So if I do not write anything, it's going to show the error messages. Now if I write the details, and click on save button, our values will be inserted, and it is still not eliminating these. However, it should, but it is not. I have to see why. So the issue was that the names of those labels were check 1, check 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, not labels 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now that we have entered the correct names and we have in the clear function initialize them with an empty string, and we have called this clear function after that we have inserted the values into our database using the SQL command namespace of C sharp, and after displaying the message of values have been inserted, we have called the function clear, so it is going to clear those error message for us. Now if I show you, firstly I'm not going to fill any field. Let's say if I fill one field at least, so it is not going to show the error for this field. The province, hospital name, now I'm going to click on save. Your values have been inserted and you can see the error message has disappeared. Now that we have created the prototype of our application, now it's time to go towards the detailing part. For that, what we have to do is we have to select each and every tab on this page and we have to access their properties in order to alter it. Now, now this was our prototype that how we want this form application to look like. Okay, so I am going to format it accordingly. Firstly, we have to add accepted details, title. For that, I will use a text box. I'm sorry, I have to use a label. So I'm going to its properties, and over here I'm going to change its name to acceptor details. Then we are going to increase its size. For increasing the font size, you have to go to the font option, and from here I can increase its size. I will set it to 18 and I will set the font style from here. I'm going to press OK, so you can see it has been formed like this. Now further, what I have to do is have to rearrange them. I also have to change their font styles, make them bold and increase some of their size. Selecting it and going to the font, I am going to do the same for all the labels that are present. So as you can see that I have increased the font of all of these labels, rearranged them, and I have made them bold. Now it's time to move towards the buttons. I'm going to select this button over here and then I am going to go on the font option and I'm going to change its font as well. I'm going to bold it. After bolding its font, what I want is I want to change its back color. I want to make it a little more appealing. I want to use some shade of red. I would use red, and after doing this I also want to change its font color. We can do this, if not from here then we can do this from for color. So as you can see it, the font color has been changed. I can also increase the size of the button. Now I will do the same. For the save button, I will change the forecolor to white, and then I will change its font. I will increase its font size. I will make it bold, and I will also change the background color. I want to make it so I have changed the colors. Now there's another thing that I want to change is I want to change the color of this form itself. So I will select the form by clicking on it, and I will go to background color option. I'm going to change the background color. I don't know what has happened over here. Now I will change the background color to white. Okay, after doing this, what I have to do is now we have to insert the images like these over here, and we also have to include the picture region where the user will upload his or her picture. Firstly, I will need this image. Now, to include the picture, what I will need to do is I have to add the picture box over here. After adding the picture box, I am going to the properties, and I am going to select the image from the properties. From there, I am going to import an image, and after importing this, I am going to click on OK. Now if I resize this image, you can see I have successfully updated the image over here. I have also included a picture over here, and I have to change this label to upload picture. This will indicate to the user that he or she has to upload a profile picture over here. So I will write profile picture. Okay. So this is the acceptor detail part of our form, in which the acceptor, the blood acceptor, will fulfill his or her details. This was part 1 of our Windows Form application series. We will further make other features of this application in the upcoming videos. Thank you for watching.